Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Mayorkas, thank you for being here, and I hope you're recovering well from your bout with COVID.
Thank you, Senator.
I'm not going to get you into a question or get into a series of questions about whether or not you or the administration acknowledges that there's a crisis at the border. I'm going to give you my basis for why I believe there's a crisis. I think there's a crisis because hundreds of people have died, if not in this country, in transit to this country over the past years, not only this year, but in years past. Hundreds of bodies have been recovered on U.S. soil. I actually saw one in the Rio Grande when I was there just a few months ago. Billions of dollars are being paid to cartels in tolls to get across the border. And those who don't pay the toll and get caught trying to cross without it could end up dying. Tons of drugs are coming into this country. And we've seen that the latest report on seizures, they're going up. What worries me is how much we don't know, how much is coming in this country and poisoning Americans. Just anecdotally, what I consider to be a crisis is when an 11-year-old girl who was actually being treated at the time I was down at the border, 11-year-old girl couldn't speak. She had been gang raped, and it had gone over so long that she was screaming and crying. That's a crisis. And I don't think that that's unique. Another example, we can get into the anecdotal reports, but we do know that criminals are coming across the border. Some are being, and thank goodness for Border Patrol and ICE and others who are responsible for this, they are being apprehended. But they're the ones that they're similar to our seizure reports. We always end after we talk about a seizure of a significant amount of fentanyl or other drugs. It's a win, but we always know it's a minority. So for every one of these criminals that we're finding, the so-called runners now, or the gotaways, for every one we capture, I think it's fair to say that many more are coming into the country. So I do think it's a crisis, and I do agree that a part of it is a result of a failed immigration system. If I have time, I'm going to ask you a question a little bit about that. But I do believe it's a crisis, and I think if we sat down and talked about the fatalities, talked about the impending crisis when the vaccine mandate is imposed and we're already down on Border Patrol agents. How many Border Patrol agent positions are open right now?
Vacancies?
Yeah.
I don't have that number at my disposal, but I will say, Senator, that the rate of Border Patrol agents being vaccinated has increased significantly.
But even, I mean, you could argue, if I were gaming this out as a businessman, you could game it out, even if it's a 5 or 6 or 7% attrition rate at the end of the day. So you get 93%. Do you think it's a good thing, or could it present another employment crisis if you lose 6 or 7% of your workforce?
We don't want to lose anyone.
And knowing, as I do, the process for onboarding a Border Patrol agent, we don't have a big pipeline because it's a lengthy, arduous process that many of these people couldn't afford to wait for to actually get on board if they want to. And again, I want to thank all the Border Patrol agents because in some respects, they're getting the same wrath that many police officers have gotten. You got the actions based on whatever investigation occurs of maybe a bad actor, maybe not, maybe didn't understand the context they were operating in. And you're giving people even fewer reasons to want to come and work in one of the most difficult jobs in law enforcement right now, and that's down on the border. Those, to me, in their totality, to any rational person, would suggest to me we got a crisis that we need to work on. We can debate the efficacy of the prior administration's policies, the problems that I have with some of the current policies, but I do think we need to recognize there's a problem. Now, back in June, the press reported Vice President Harris, who I understand is leading the effort for the immigration challenge, or whatever they're referring to at the border, a sweeping strategy. And I think in roughly that same time, we had a document titled DHS Plan to Restore Trust in Our Legal Immigration System. I sent you a letter back in June. I think in September you told, the department responded, it's a blueprint, it's work in process, so you couldn't really share it with us now. But we heard media reports that had been shared. Question now is the blueprint finalized, and to what extent is it actually affecting your operation?
So if I may, Senator, and also thank you very much for recognizing the vulnerability of the individuals who regrettably placed their lives in the hands of exploitative smugglers. Mm-hmm. Indeed, the toll
I did a back of the napkin math, and the average toll right now is about $7,000 to $8,000. I discounted it to $5,000. If you multiply it by 1.7, that's about $8.5 billion. And I know the recidivism, maybe they got a money back guarantee, so but that's why I discounted it to 5,000. We're paying cartels, human smugglers, people that run the plazas across the southern border on the other side of the river, billions of dollars. That alone would seem like a crisis to me. If we discounted everything else, I've got to get to one question, though. It has to do with vaccinations. I've read several reports about a relatively low receptivity rate for the vaccine. Now, we've got a president who's implementing a national mandate for vaccines for any employers over 100 employees and all federal employees. Why shouldn't we mandate that somebody who comes across the border illegally shouldn't be vaccinated, or that's a reason for expulsion under Title 42 or any other law?
Senator, the analysis for migrants encountered at the border is quite different than for the federal workforce that leads by example. We are, in fact, removing those individuals. We're expelling them very rapidly.
Can we remove them if they refuse to take a vaccine?
Under Title 42.
Why shouldn't that be? If we're talking about, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but he's being really good. Oh, he's gone, so I may have a shot. In deference to Senator Ossoff, I'll be brief. But look, if we think for the safety of the American people, if the president thinks that he should mandate a vaccine, it just seems absurd to me that that wouldn't be a deal killer for anybody coming through who's not willing to accept the vaccine. And in fact, by sending the message to anybody coming to our border that you're going to probably get removed, but you're going to get vaccinated or absolutely get removed, maybe that's one pull factor we can work on together right now. And finally, that I know you said to Senator Graham that the 400,000-ish, let's say hundreds of thousands of dollars right now being negotiated in the DHS is out of your lanes. I agree. But I do believe it's wrong. And I do believe if they end up settling and it becomes known that you can come across our border and potentially build a case to get hundreds of thousands of dollars of payout, it's going to be another reason why it's a crisis and not just a situation we're trying to work through. Thank you, and I wish you good health.
Thank you, Senator.